punya depan itu, so you can as a brief benda tu on the introduction of project management, construction management. Basically, I believe that up till now, the semester sampai semester 6 sekarang ni, semester you dah tahun ketiga, so semester 5, hopefully you are able to have kata apa the understanding, the better understanding lah compared than the year 1 and year 2 tu, in term of build environment, build environment punya information or knowledge area. Okay, video saya tak ada sini. Let me check. Okay, boleh nampak saya I'm here. So basically working from home. So apa nama, kalau UTM ni basically we are not UTM lah basically, Johor, fasa 4 at the moment it's fasa 4 from today onwards. So basically the implication to the movement, control, order basically is make it more easier lah for us. So UTM pun from now on, dia punya numbers of work from home or apa nama tu dah become lesser, right? So the school pun, sekolah pun akan buka in 2 weeks time. Okay, alright. I guess we have 84 now, so -1 minus me, basically we have 83 in total students. Congratulations. Otherwise, kalau number tu you ada login with 2 device, so the numbers tu akan tak tally lah. Alright, so feel free to on your video, so I can see and I can feel you are in front of me. Kalau tak, saya pun rasa macam recorded lecture je lagi bagus. Kan? Alright, so basically my name Muzani. So mana yang tak pernah jumpa saya, maybe I think I met you guys before waktu make construction material, if not mistaken. Betul kan? In year 1, semester 2. Betul?
Year 2 construction material.
Construction material. Ni
Year
soal
1
macam
introduction.
Dave
Yes, Dave.
Ravi Dave.
Year 1 introduction.
Year 1 introduction to QS. So basically this is the third time we have a class lah. Okay. Alright. So I think we cut short the introduction part in terms of briefing myself punya briefing. So basically I just share the course out information just now. Okay, you can see dia punya course information, right? Okay, so for the course information, you can see the course code. Basically, it's a SBEQ 3732, 3732. And then if you come across with the my lecture note or slides previously or onwards, you can see the content of this particular information or of this particular course is similar or setara lah dengan SBEQ 3833, the previous cohort, okay, previous curriculum. From the 3 credit, we go down to 2 credits. So some of the content, basically, we reduce some of the content, not the topic, but reduce the sum of content. So for example, one topic is required up until about 4 or 5 technique, for example, in terms of the project management tools and technique. So we cut in up until 2 or 3 only. So that's the reflect to the credit hours punya content. So SBEQ 3732 is similar in terms of the previous cohort lah, SBEQ 3833 and also SBEC 3753. But for SBEC 3753, only 70% is similar to this particular course lah. The rest 30% is more on managerial aspect on that particular courses or program. Okay. For this particular course information ataupun just a synopsis on this, so it's about the introduction of management technique and tools on project management. I believe you see the content of my recorded lecture and the slide note as well on what is the required knowledge or skills required by or should be possessed by the project manager. Okay, so project manager, as you know, is the person who in charge of the whole construction process. And if you recall my lecture note, the demarcation ataupun the difference between project manager and construction manager. The construction manager focus on construction process ataupun dia lead the construction process, the construction activity dalam the whole project. So you know that the construction project involve of pre-render planning, construction, and then the post-construction period, like a facilities management, maintenance as well. So construction manager focus on construction activity for the duration, the whole duration of that particular project. Okay, but both of them, basically a construction manager, project manager should possess a skill in terms of how they plan or how they plan and scheduling the resources. The resources include of material, manpower, machineries, and money as well, and the cash flow. So basically, both of them basically should be require the managerial ethic, okay, ataupun have a competent person. If you venture into into your career later on, we have ataupun CIDB provide the route for certified construction manager and certified construction project manager. So and then throughout that particular module, so you will able to see the similarity between this particular topic yang kita akan belajar ni dengan the module yang you akan ambil. Okay, so that's what help you in term of the better understanding to better grasp the module later if you venture to the project manager or construction manager certified courses lah. Okay, and then for this particular course lecturer, not only me akan ajar solely on this particular course, so I will have a hand from Dr. Razali. So Dr. Razali currently is acting dean of FABU. So and me also course director or program director for QS. So all of us basically at the managerial punya position lah. Sometimes I can say just to let you know, sometimes some of meeting that academic meeting or managerial meeting lah basically, yang kalau tak dapat dielakkan tu, we try to manage your time class lah, but the priority will be given to this particular class, the slot. So that's why Dr. Razali want me to together with him lah untuk dalam ajar this particular courses. Okay, and for this particular course learning outcome, what you should know ataupun what you should able ataupun learn ataupun what you learn later at the end of this particular semester. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the CLO 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4 aspect ataupun 4 CLO. We call it as CLO, course learning outcome. In terms of understanding operational research technique. Okay, I will. This is the topic that I will cover today, and then demonstrate understanding on the construction project planning scheduling process that will cover on week 3. Okay, and then number 3, apply various construction scheduling technique on week 3, 4, 5, and 6 before the semester break, and then on week 4, basically not week 4, the course or learning outcome number 4. On various aspects of construction method improvement and risk management. All of these are related to construction project management or project management aspect of the project. So, and then you can see the level of taxonomies over here, the weightage of the assessment in terms of related to the cost learning outcome is stated here, and then the assessment method. Okay, you can see the assessment method. We have a the label as T and A. T for test, this one, test. A for assignment, F for final exam. So means we have the sum of the assessment in terms of this on teaching and learning, also assessment, come with assessment. So teaching and learning basically on weekly basis, and assessment method, we have a test, assignment, and final exam. So test will cover on these two CLO, and for final exam we will cover on number 3 and number 4. So means basically just to remind you guys, once you learn or study on this particular subject, basically not only focus on the assessment, but basically focus on focus on the how to apply that particular knowledge in your career later. Okay, so basically, like I said, if you venture to the career as a project manager or construction manager, so this is the better to give you a better understanding on how to apply on this particular CLO. Okay. All right. In terms of how we deliver this lecture, so basically, as you know, we stick to the online learning platform. So we use e-learning as our platform, a Moodle platform. Okay. And then in terms of communication, for group communication, we use a WhatsApp group. Okay. So I think all of you are inside that particular group that we create. And then in terms of assessment, so again, we use e-learning platform for tests, for submission of assignment, for coursework, and then for peer review, and also for the final examination. All right. So I think I cover in terms of teaching and learning and also assessment. And how about the topics that we cover today? Okay, the topics throughout the 14 weeks. Okay, so all in all, we have a 14 weeks. Okay, 14 weeks, yang tolak test week, tolak mid semester break. So we have a 14, 15, 16. So minus that is about 14 lah, the effective one. All right. In this particular topic, half of this semester covered by me. Okay, MM stand for Muzani Mustafa, RAH stand for Razali Abdul Hamid. And then we also intend to have a guest lecturer to give a talk or hands-on in terms of not hands-on lah, basically demonstration. Demonstration, online demonstration, because we foresee there's a problem if because we cannot have a physical interaction atau physical punya learning. We cannot go to computer lab, so we provide you with we plan to have demonstration by the expert lah, for the practitioner, I will say, on the project management software. So out there we have in the real practice. So basically we have lots of project management software related. Okay, one of the most popular one basically is a Microsoft project, Primavera project planner, and that's a compatible with the Microsoft ataupun Windows lah. And with the operation system or iOS, basically we have another related project in software. But the most important thing is to have that particular software is compatible with other other related software lah. Yang for example, kalau you can see nowadays we have a BIM environment, that what we call it, the ecosystem of BIM. So means that Revit basically can interact with the other software. So basically we can execute ataupun extract the quantity or take off material from the drawing, okay, online. Okay, same as a project management. So we can have the planning and scheduling from that particular model. So and then that's become easier for us as a project manager or construction manager to have to see the real time simulation. Okay. All right. So for week 1 topic, overview of project management, need for project management, I'll leave you guys with recorded lecture. Okay, and as well as some tutorial or some work to do. I believe that one of it is related with the job scope ataupun the job the scope of job for the real project for the project manager. Okay, so basically if you do a search in the newspaper, a job advertisement related to project manager or construction manager, you will know what is required to become a project manager. Okay, so basically it's prepare yourself in 1 year time or 2 years time as a assistant project manager or executive project manager ataupun construction manager. So this is the required skill required. So one of it, the requirement skill is to able to have orang kata apa, the better knowledge in term of technical, in term of skill, soft skill, in term of the IT. So all of it basically is to apa nama to summarize lah apa yang required by project manager and construction manager nowadays. Okay. Any questions so far on this CI ataupun the brief introduction of this particular course? Any one of you want to ask? Just feel free to ask. Okay, you show the thumbs up, so means nothing to ask now right now for the moment. Okay, let me unshare for this content. So let me share to. Okay, can you see the slide related with optimization and OOR? Nampak Okay, good. Let me change to full screen mode. Okay, I stop my video because I cannot see myself instead there. So basically better I off and then just concentrate on this particular lecture, right? Okay, so this is the topic, quite interesting. The justification of why we need to understand this particular topic. Number one, because this is related with decision making. Okay, remember, just repeat again, why we need to understand this particular topic related with optimization and operation research, because it is related with decision making. Who decide, basically? Who is the decision maker? Can you tell me? Who is decision maker, for example, for the project manager, for the construction project management or construction project? Who decide? It can be the project manager, it can be a client, it can be a consultant, it can be a quantity surveyor. So basically, this is related with decision making from various stakeholders ataupun various people inside the construction project. So in this particular topic, or it reflect to this particular course, the project management. So the project management is about how to manage the unique the unique activities, the unique project. So like I said in the first lecture, during the pre-recorded lecture, what is different between project and project and task, if I'm not mistaken, project and activity. So basically project is a unique one-off. So basically bila sebut one-off, maksudnya it cannot be similar in term of the 100% similarity. For example, if you take one single project and then you replicate to another project, for example, school, 3-story school ataupun sekolah kebangsaan, school, dekat location dekat Kuantan, dekat Johor Bahru, dekat Penang, for example. 3 school with all similar identical design, right? So what are you reckon in term of differences ataupun the difference in term of all that 3 particular site or project there? Number one, of course, you will see the difference in term of the project location, right? When we talk about the project location is different, so we talk about the site layout might be different, the site condition ataupun the soil condition, in term of the climate ataupun the cuaca kat situ. For example, for the Kuantan punya part, if you do a construction for the whole 1.5 year, so you see the different monsoon punya change compare dan dekat Penang, compare dan dekat Johor. So ada yang musim banjir dan sebagainya. And then we talk about the people involved in that particular, all that 3 project. So it means all that particular 3 project involve of different people, different contractor, perhaps the same client, but different consultant, different contractor, different subcontractor, right? Or different specialists or different workers, which is not able to learn from that particular previous project. So means in this particular subject or topic, when we talk about optimization, operation research is about how decision maker to do the best possible option or ways in conduct things ataupun conduct the activities, right? So let's move to the introduction part. So basically, how you should know about operation research, or dia punya keyword there is a OR, ataupun dia punya short form ni is OR. So the OR basically is about decision making problem that they characterize. So means when you talk about decision making, is hard to do. Sometimes the process of decision making is require a lot of process. Synthesize the information, gather the information, and then do some judgment, and then weightage the pro and cons, the positive and negative implication. So basically, they involve a lot of process, alternative, and so on. So basically, in this particular operation research, decision-making problem are characterized. Characterized mean maksudnya apa? Maksudnya every single process tu dia akan lalu with a sort of quantification in terms of numbers, in terms of value, in terms of cost, in terms of time duration, to see the weightage, to see the idea of untuk buat justification tu have some merit on it, some justification on it. So this is what we call it as a characterize. Okay. So and then in terms of OR, so this is about model and assess its value. Like I said earlier, we have to understand why is it the merit behind it, the justification behind every choice yang kita buat. So and then this is to assess, right? So this is become the model. So and then how to go from conceptual problem to a quantitative solution. So mean when you have, for example, I just give you two option ataupun two ways. Kalau you nak bergerak daripada satu location to another location. For example, if you stay at KL and Kuala Lumpur and to come to UTM campus, alright? So the option that you have basically land mode lah ataupun transportation dekat darat lah. Which is basically you pakai kereta lalu highway. Okay, and then it takes about 3.5 hours, about 4 hours macam tu. Okay, from KL up to Skudai. And then the other ways of transportation, you think about the option. Another option is think about using the airline ataupun flight, right, from KLIA up until Senai Airport. So this is two ways of communication ataupun two ways of transportation ataupun logistik you akan naik. And then try to think about what is the pro and cons. Apa yang merit on that particular dua alternatif tersebut. One point to another point, which is the same location. You know the objective, which is to reach Skudai, to reach UTM. But if you choose another transportation, which is from airport to airport, is the point of destination tu tak sampai lagi. Just only about 10 km or 15 km from Senai Airport to Kuala Lumpur to UTM's campus. So you have to think another means of transportation. Either pakai Grab ke, pakai taxi ke, ataupun you ask help from your friends over here. So this is how you assess the information, how you assess the justification behind it. For example, if you go for the time ataupun the duration is become your priority. For example, if you go to the KL to the Johor from KL by a flight, so basically you save 3 hours. So basically about 1 hour or 50 minutes the journey, alright. But if you go take a car, kereta, so you akan ambil masa 3.5 jam dan sebagainya, right? But this is how yang you kena assess. What is your priority? What is the value behind the priority tersebut? Adakah ia because of the priority or in term of the time duration that you want to shortcut? You doesn't care about the cost. You doesn't care ataupun the cost become the number two. Maksudnya cost untuk beli tiket kapal terbang, the cost untuk isi minyak kereta dan sebagainya itu berbeza. So basically that's become the value to you. Remember, the value is different from one perspective to another. For example, if I see the time that I will learn today, will teach today for 2 hours, I feel the value is to give the knowledge to people. If you feel the 2 hours, I can go to some other place in 2 hours time. So that's a value different from me and you. So basically, this is how we conceive ataupun we see the value in different ways. But in term of the OR, basically macam saya kata OR in term of the project. So OR apply in the project. So project is become orang kata apa, activity ataupun task yang you akan lihat. Okay, so how OR can be applied? So based on the concept of value, concept of decision making, how to characterize and so on. Okay, so for this part, just to see your understanding on the first slide, is it okay? Show me the sign, okay or not? Okay, good. All right, Dave. Thank you, Alia. So in terms of OOR, optimization and operational research, is about the making the best of something, and then in terms of the state of condition of being optimal. Optimal maksudnya nanti I akan explain further dalam konteks of project management or construction industry. Okay, but for the for now, in terms of general knowledge on in terms of what is it mean by optimization, action or process making the best of something. For example, kalau you pernah dengar multitasking tak? Kalau you hire one, for example macam waiter lah, waiter kat kedai makan, sekarang kita boleh makan dine in ya. So kalau kita go to waiter, kita panggil nak waiter yang order makanan kat restoran. So we angkat tangan ataupun tekan button, and then the waiter come in, and then dia ambil order, and then dia just pergi dekat back of the restaurant, kat kitchen area, and then dia akan bagi order. Lepas tu dia akan datang balik ke meja-meja lain. That's only one task. When you said about the multitasking, kalau you pergi kedai juga, and then you nampak the same waiter yang buat air you tu. So basically lepas tu juga, dia juga yang serve another customer, and then they come to back, and then dia buat bancuh air, and then even dia prepare the cooks dan sebagainya. So that's become a multitasking. So kalau you gajikan seorang, which is waiter, yang gajinya mungkin dalam 1,000 plus, 2,000 macam tu, and then you as a majikan yang you dapat 3 kerja sekaligus. Serve the customer, cooking, doing the drinks. So basically, dengan 2,000 you akan dapat best of the best, making the best of something which is that guy. Okay? So that's become the optimal. So this is orang kata apa yang saya kata, how do you optimize things. Okay? Things can be guys, a person, things ataupun a process, activity. So this is orang kata apa, making the best. Okay. Optimal means you find out that particular optimal tu, maksudnya dalam masa 8 jam dia bekerja tu, they can do so many things without violate dia punya time hours tu. For example, kalau you kerja 8 jam sehari, buka pintu, tutup pintu pejabat ataupun kedai contohnya, you akan hanya kerja dalam masa tu. Kalau luar pada tu, maksudnya you are become a free man to go lah. Maksudnya lepas habis kerja awal, you macam budak sekolah. Lepas sekolah je, lepas tu keluar, balik, makan apa semua, dia buat aktiviti masing-masing. Right? So how you make the best, the optimal ways of the conducive learning dalam sekolah, dalam classroom. So after that particular classroom tu, that's apa the other people's time punya. Okay, right. So in terms of operational research, like I said earlier, operational research become the branch of mathematics. Okay, macam saya nampak kat sini, kalau you can see, this is about mathematics. Remember tadi kenapa saya kata mathematics? Because we characterize the decision making problem. Okay? When we have a problems, we problem or issue. Then OR ni basically is a branch from the mathematical discipline and science discipline. So we use a model. Remember tadi saya kata model. We analyze from quantification, which is related with our cost, which is QS. We quantify all the value, all the merit, justification behind it in terms of numbers, which is quantity. And then we use a mathematical modeling, statistical analysis, mathematical optimization, and then to what? Untuk dapatkan the optimal or near optimal solution. Okay, at the end to solve the decision making problem. So this is how the OR. Okay, just to share with you guys the history about the operation research. Why they say about operation? It's not about the operation yang macam ni. Operation research basically is way back dia punya history origin dia dekat zaman World War II, WW2 dulu. From when the military atau army ataupun kat sini UK sekarang ni ataupun England at the time tu UK they dalam perang dunia tu basically they try to find to divide to invent some about the missile tu yang peluru berpandu tu drop daripada flight military army dia punya jet fighter tu untuk bomb hit the bomb tu hit the submarine bawah laut, but they have some problem on how dia nak start the spark the fuse tu. Maksudnya kalau dia jatuh tu, bom tu on, basically dia akan tengah-tengah meletup tengah-tengah udara on the way go down. Okay, so kalau dia switch on the ignition ataupun the bomb tu dekat dalam laut terlampau lambat, so basically dia tu akan mati dekat dalam laut, meletup kat bawah juga. So this is how they want to know about dia punya mathematics, dia punya how the process untuk jatuhkan bom, kemudian bom tu jatuh terus pergi ke submarine. So basically it's like a jatuh and then dia berpusing belakang tu and then benda tu bergerak ke depan. Okay, it's like a L shape. Maksudnya kalau you imagine from drop vertical and then the going straight horizontal to hit the submarine bawah surface, water surface lah. So basically they call all the researcher, professor, army expert dan sebagainya, so to come up with how the bomb tu can on ataupun ignite masa yang tepat. Okay, so this is their problem at the time. So and then this is how the keyword ataupun the word of operation research come from. Operation is referred to operasi tentera lah, that's a ops. Kalau kata operasi apa sebagainya, kalau nampak dalam dia punya term yang digunakan oleh military ataupun polis ataupun even police or military tu, basically we call it as operation. When we talk about research, basically it's about they come up with the innovative thing untuk how to solve this particular problem. So the word there, operation research, it become up till now lah dia punya nama, the term OR. So and then from there dia berkembang to different area, different field, different nature of industry, and then is owned by the US company, and then after that is up until now. So kalau you nampak kat sini how the OR tu ataupun the art of optimization tu berkembang, macam saya kata tadi, the objective function of OR tu ataupun dia develop into untuk to understand atau to get the objective ataupun to solve the problem related with forecasting, to solve the problem ataupun solve a problem ataupun decision making in term of to determine the profit or minimize loss. Okay, production scheduling, inventory control, capital budgeting and risk. So you can see all this objective function ataupun how OR can optimize things in term of all these 3, 4, 5, 6 ni. Dia punya 6 yang saya list out over here. So basically this is how the OR ataupun optimization operation research ni can help the industry, can help the decision maker or project manager or even construction manager to understand and then to have an idea on in term of to do a scheduling, to do loss ataupun inventory, budgeting, risk assessment and management. Okay. So just to see ataupun to have you can read on this one, the case example, but I guess from my last experience, if you read these particular cases, you just this particular slide ni only give you some idea on how OR help in term of to save some profit, to save the expenses ataupun from the company. But the most important thing is how they do it. Betul tak? How they OR save that particular company punya expenditure dan sebagainya. Okay, we straight go to another example. So this is example of American Airlines. Okay, the American Airlines. So basically it's similar to any other airline around this world. around the globe je, macam AirAsia, Garuda, okay? Dah lama tak naik kapal terbang ni, so dah lupa. Okay, so basically you can see the American airline, one of the pioneer dalam adopt the OR in their particular activities ataupun business activities. Okay, how they do it? So basically, American airlines have a problem, have their business problem. I think all the same with the another airlines. For example, kalau you come across with Malaysian airline, when they have a huge ataupun a fierce competition from AirAsia, okay, in domestic punya domestic ataupun locally lah dekat Malaysia ni. So you can see when we have a Malaysia Airline and AirAsia, so Malaysia Airline punya sales drop, dia punya service tu orang kata apa, because Malaysia Airline focus on premium, alright, premium services. While for AirAsia, basically is focused on everyone can fly, alright. So basically is pay as you go. Maksudnya kalau you nak beli tambah sikit, you tambah duit. So basically this is how the different business model from that two particular company. But you can see even they have a two different business model, but they share the same destination. So from fly from Johor Bahru to Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur to Johor Bahru. So all that two airline working together. Maksudnya sama-sama terbang. Okay. So they have a same business problem similar to the American airline. Okay. So the business problem here is to compete effectively in the fierce market. Like I said just now, the analogy ataupun the understanding on AirAsia, on how AirAsia and Mars compete each other, right? But different the price segment, but they share the same location code, right? Maksudnya the same destination. And then the company need to sell the right seat to the right customer at the right price. So basically that's the become their their way of to do it ataupun to keluar daripada this particular problem ni, because they know any one of you yang tahu average numbers of seat dalam kapal terbang, any one of you? For example, Boeing 737 ke 747, A300 ke how many numbers of seat? It depend on the craft, right? But any average, just to give a figure.
174, Doctor.
154, 174.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that's for the which type of aircraft. Katakanlah similar mediumnya lah kan, bukannya for the long haul punya airline ataupun aircraft punya destination. So 174 we make it lah 180 lah katakan 180. So basically on the whole 180, kalau you come across with the experience naik kapal terbang, okay, so they have a segment inside the cabin dalam kapal terbang tu. We have apa business class, so we have economy class. Ni kalau yang Malaysia Airline lah, or even kalau AirAsia pun they have kata apa the red zone ataupun yang ada apa red carpet, apa nama dia tu yang the kepala merah yang belakang tu yang hitam biasa tu. So basically they have a segmentized the seat, alright. So and then you can see some seat kalau you naik ada tiba tak penuh pun, you katakan boleh buat untung ke? That's kata apa the idea that pop up in your head lah, kalau kata, weh kapal terbang penuh hari ni, untung lah. And then you can see dalam kapal terbang tu pula setiap hari ada 5-6 flight, 5-6 route yang dia akan pergi. Contoh Johor Bahru KL, itu patah balik Johor Bahru KL. Ini airport yang sama, ini kapal terbang yang sama. So basically you can see how they make money from there. So in this particular business problem, American Airline need to sell the right seat, yang katakan economy zone ataupun AirAsia or business zone tu kepada right customer. Right customer tu maksudnya customer yang nak bayar tu at the right price. So just to give you some idea, for example, if you purchase the flight ticket tomorrow from KL to Johor Bahru, what do you think the price will the price range? Mahal ke murah?
Expensive.
Very expensive, right? Kalau for example, if you go the same destination from your KL to Johor Bahru next 2 months, what's the price looks like? quite low compared
Very cheap.
very cheap, quite low. Even they have kata apa promotion to buy next year, even next 2 years, all right, in the window. So basically you can secure for the cheaper price. But for the company, why they do that? Basically they want to have a cash in advance ataupun the security, the surety of the customer, the passenger in the long run. Okay, and then if you can see, not only 174 person ataupun passenger yang boleh beli 2 tahun ke depan. Basically they only have some limited window, some limited seat for that particular the cheaper ticket price. So that's why kata apa, dalam airline ticket, the right seat tu basically the keyword there, the seat is basically they become their commodity, their product. Okay, so you can see from next slide, airline seat are a perishable commodity. What does it mean? Perishable maksudnya macam barang pakai buang lusuh. Alright? So if the flight depart, dah terbang, nobody can buy that particular ticket, now particular seat anymore. Right? So basically dengan kata lain, if you don't have that particular seat occupied, means the company will rugi lah in term of kata apa, the seat tak dapat duduk. But how they tackle that particular problems? So that's why how to tackle it is depends on kata apa, the OR ataupun optimization. Okay, how they optimize things. For example, if you can see the out of 174 the total passengers inside the craft, only about 3399 1820 lah, 20 numbers of business class, right? Out of 20, maybe they only maybe the occupied seat is only about 20%. So maybe about 4 or 5. Okay, for the normal season ataupun not peak time punya. Kalau peak time confirm lah, dah penuh lah, of course lah kan. So basically 4 or 5 of them, basically they akan pay the premium price. So mean for example, if they pay same destination, JB to KL, KL to JB otherwise. So basically the passenger yang normal passenger yang bayar about 150 or 200 ticket one way or return. So the another guy yang bayar yang depan, for example the American Airlines, dia akan bayar about 1,000, which is 5-fold of different price, different. But the customer yang beli yang 1,000 tu, agak-agak dia tahu tak dia bayar lebih? Dia tahu because they know, they enjoy the facility that they expected. For example, if they come to go to the cabin yang ada steward or stewardess yang layan the special segment over there, dia ada dapat makan dulu, dia boleh keluar flight dulu, dia akan dapat entertainment yang bigger screen for example. So now they appreciate the value. Remember I said just now, the value is a varies. Maksudnya values tu is depend from different customer and for another customer, different people to other people. So mean if they appreciate the value, they don't care about to pay more. Apart from that, orang yang bayar yang at the economy class atau business economy class basically doesn't care about the premium services provided by the airline. So what they want is the priority for them is to reach the destination from point A to point B safely, right? So now you can see we have a problem or business model di mana we have to cater different segment, different people, right? So now what the American airline did is the new system has to develop an approach to pricing while creating software. So they create the software, they put all the historical data, trend, yang mana all the numbers based on the booking, kalau weekdays, weekend, for off-peak or low-peak hour season, basically to understand the nature of booking, cancellation, correction dan sebagainya. So from that, you can see the model of the system tu can have to help the American airline to have a dynamic pricing, revenue management and dynamic pricing. So kalau you order overbooking, for example, the problem here is about overbooking. Kalau contohnya the couple of seat left dekat dalam aircraft yang 174 tadi, maybe about 5 to 7 seat left. Okay, so bila 5 to 7 seat left, basically orang yang booking tu ada 30 orang. 30 nak dapatkan 5 seat. So the system can read that, orang kata apa, there's an overbooking alert. Okay, so whoever can have kata apa benda tu, dia akan tolak, reject the price dan sebagainya. So apa behind the process tu, the algorithm, everything is from the expert lah, right? But what we want to know here, the concept is the system can be created to understand the dynamic pricing, to understand the issue about overbooking, discount allocation, the traffic management, and so on. So this is the model that adopted by American Airlines Computers, right? So do you reckon that this particular scenario yang pasal overbooking, discount allocation ni apply in where? Dekat mana dia apply sekarang ni? Can you give me some idea? Dekat mana all this computer system macam yang kita cakap ni apply nowadays? Anyone? Ada tak? Diam ni. You can see from here, if the American airline can did the to solve this particular problem long time ago, right? So now about 30 or 40 years onwards, so basically you can see the people, the gig economy yang kalau boleh recall number gig economy tu, everybody have kata apa, the can do a business online, can do apa nama based on the demand and supply simultaneously from the real time punya scenario. So this is help a lot in term of kata apa, the apply tu dalam nowadays punya scenario ataupun business economy. For example, dekat dalam apa Airbnb, dekat dalam booking.com, Agoda for example kan. So about dulu yang ini airline, but now if we talk about the accommodation ataupun the hotel punya hotel punya apa booking dan sebagainya, right? So this is what the OR can help, can be applied in that particular project. So how about in the construction industry? Any of you can come across how this particular discipline ataupun this particular OR ni can help in operation on construction industry? Any of you? Just give either no right or wrong answer. Just to want to know about your your understanding ataupun how you see the OR ni can be applied dalam construction industry. Any of you?
It helps during the estimation stage.
During the estimation stage. Elaborate more, Dev?
For QS kan, that there will be an estimation stage where they estimate the price for the client kan. So maybe ada benda ni boleh bantu QS lah to make decisions. Or
Yes, correct.
also during tendering for
Yep.
contractor to make their price based on the tender.
Correct. So basically you can see from the notes that I give you, it's about a tender. Ada yang ada saya sebut a tender. And then kalau you can see, thank you Dev. In term of dalam construction industry, how they apply. You know the keyword on OR basically is about to best the possible option, to find the best possible option always in term of to optimize the resources. Okay, so dalam construction industry basically we deal a lot of resources, right? So one of the resources yang perlu ada dalam any construction project basically we call it as a land. Betul tak? Plot of land. Okay, so we have a 1 acre plot of land, alright? So as a QS ataupun yang as a QS lah, kalau in term of costing to advise the client on what type of project that will build in that particular plot of land. For example, if the client is a developer, right? So they want to build a terrace house about 40 or 50 unit of terrace house. So when we talk about the client is a developer, so basically we know the business model for the client tu adalah to sell that particular unit. Betul tak? Kalau dia buat rumah saja kemudian duduk free, bukan business model lah kan. So basically outputnya ataupun the produknya adalah rumah yang untuk dijual then get the return on investment, right? So this is a QS lah, yang kena tahu apa return on investment, duit modal berapa, expenses berapa, and then berapa jual, untung, itulah return on investment, how long it takes, okay? So basically the same plot of land, kalau you nak advise a client untuk buat 50 unit terrace house, right? So how you optimize the thing? Adakah you akan letak satu unit harganya sama semua? Semua satu unit, semua 200,000 ataupun 400,000 contohnya. 400,000 for 2-story terrace house. Kalau if you put the 400,000 story house, ramai orang akan berebut-rebut dekat rumah mana? Agak-agak. You follow tak? Kalau you buat rumah terrace house, harganya 400,000, semua sama. Ramai agak-agak ada apa semua unit lah RM400,000. Katakan RM400,000 tu mahal kan. 300,000 ataupun 250, 280,000. Semua unit 280,000. Klien declare macam tu. Agak-agak unit mana yang paling orang berebut nak beli?
Corner lot.
Pandai pun. Corner lot. Sebab apa? Sebab tanah dia besar, betul tak? So how you optimize thing? Remember tadi airline tadi? So kalau scarcity, maksudnya scarce, maksudnya benda tu terlampau sikit, overbooking, orang nampak. So price tu akan become more higher because there you have advantage. You have advantage on booking, overbooking. You have advantage in terms of the plot of land yang ada value mereka tu. Remember, selling the right unit at the right price to the right customer. Okay, that's optimization, right? So basically you have kata apa berapa corner lot. Kalau you tengok tu, kalau buat 2-3 baris dan sebagainya, you akan 2 corner lah, kiri kanan dan sebagainya. Dan juga ada yang rumah yang tepi jalan tu di call as end lot. Okay, bila end lot tu ada cahaya, ada tingkap sebelah. Padahal tingkap sebelah tu extra money for the people yang bayar sebab dia kena buat langsir, dapat cahaya. But in terms of value, rumah dia akan jadi cerah because of they have a sunlighting ataupun daylight yang lebih banyak compare than the others yang rumah terrace. So basically the people yang want to purchase, the potential buyer yang purchase the end lot, corner lot tu, basically akan see this is the better value, right? So they will nak belilah. That's why kata kalau you put you as a QS advise the client, letak je semua rumah 350,000, semua mesti habis semua. Confirm lah habis tapi rugilah you because you not advising how to optimize things, optimize the resources that you have, right? So now you understand. Itu kalau buat rumah terrace. But and then bila calculate balik, klien kata macam rugilah. Saya beli tanah ni dekat 1 juta, 2 juta lebih. Dapat sikit pun cukup balik modal je. And then you as a QS, how you advise the client to optimize? How you can get the money more from the plot of land? Can you advise me kalau I'm a client? Any one of you? In the same plot of land, how you nak build the housing scheme? Macam mana you can get the price tu? Tapi mesti you kata, kan rumah habis jual tu kan, dapat duit lah. But remember, in the same plot of land, if you as a developer, you nampak tak, you have to reserve tanah yang you punya tu untuk plot TMB substation, untuk playground, okay, untuk tanah yang green area, dia ada some allocation untuk setback. Daripada pagar sampai tu jalan, reserve for jalan, reserve for parit, reserve for manhole, whatever. So the 1 acre ataupun 2 acre punya plot of land, bila calculate balik, tinggal less than about 70% saja yang usable, yang boleh sellable unit nak jual. So basically, you nampak tak? because of the plan permission, because of the rules and regulation by the local authority. So basically benda-benda ni akan impact the client punya duit. So how you as a QS can advise Mr. Client ataupun Mrs. Madam Client tu untuk to have their more sale ataupun revenue daripada hasil jualan rumah. Any one of you? Try. Kalau tak salah tak apa. Yang ni you cuba. I want to know the idea behind your talk lah on this particular topic. Fatimah ada? Anissa? Izhan? Dia tengah scroll nama-nama ni. Mashita? So, can you give some idea on how to increase the revenue, client revenue on that particular plot of land hasil daripada jualan rumah? Kalau Mashita ada lah. Nama ada kat sini.
Be through renovation.
Through renovation. Siapa jawab tu? Dave lagi kan? Oh, orang ni tak ada dia. Tak apa deh, thank you for trying. If you give the renovation, basically renovation jarang lah kita nampak the strategy by the contract, by the developer, unless they give a package, for example, right? So tu lain. Normally because the renovation tu different different people have different taste lah, orang kata apa, untuk in term of dia punya idea kan. So basically that's why they don't go for that. Build single story and double story house at the same lot. Emmy, buat double story, increase square feet dan increase price. Okay, ramai yang tulis dekat dalam chat Sam Yu Hong, provide new comfortable furniture and fascinating interior design. Yeah, sometimes I can see the developer do that the strategy. Maksudnya kalau masuk rumah, dia kata complete with 100% built-in furniture. Okay, come only masuk bawa bag je baju. Right? For example macam kondo dan sebagainya. Alright. So thanks for the response over here. But one of it, kalau if you can see, if you ask the customer, the client, if you as a QS, right? So ask again the QS, is it your priority untuk buat terrace house ke ataupun nak dapat the income from that, from the sales? So if the I doesn't care whatever type of this, I want to double or triple, even 4 or 5 fold from the price value ke price plot of land ke, I nak dapat. You pernah dengar tak GDV, Gross Development Value? Nanti you akan belajar dalam tahun 4 nanti, Development Economics. So GDV, kalau you go for search dekat buku ataupun dekat media, baca kalau projek-projek baru kan, for example macam Bandar Malaysia last time, kalau sebagainya, dia akan, pemberita tu, reporter akan cakap nilai hartanah di kawasan ini dengan GDV sebanyak 2 bilion dalam masa 5 tahun. What does it mean? Means expected gross sales yang jual rumah, unit terjual tu akan membawa pada 2 bilion dan sebagainya. And then if you come across, kalau you rajin lagi, you tengok balik Bandar Malaysia tu, tanah dia beli, developer tu dia beli tanah tu berapa. So and then you can see, you can calculate GDV berapa, dia jual dia tanah berapa. Dia ada tu dalam dia punya report laporan tahunan kalau yang company tu Bursa Malaysia punya registered. So dia beli plot of land tanah berapa, so dia dapat. So basically you can see, wah ini 50 kali ganda dapat daripada ni dalam masa 5 tahun. So this is how they make a business, right? So they try to optimize the plot of land, they try to optimize things. But the question I asked just now is how they want to optimize. If you as a QS, how you advise optimization to the client, to your client. So one of it, my suggestion macam yang saya setujulah macam they have a furniture dan sebagainya, fascinating interior design, that's good. But another one is macam selain daripada tu corner lot harga mahal, end lot harga mahal, terrace house unit mahal. Even they have something that maybe that you don't know yet ataupun your parent maybe know. Bila you nak beli rumah, sometimes some developer ataupun the sales representative kata, kenapa rumah saya ni sama je dengan rumah depan? Seberang jalan sama seberang jalan. Dia akan kata apa? Rumah encik mahal because of depan rumah encik tak ada jalan, tak ada rumah yang sama. So in one road only you yang satu baris. Means what? Encik akan dapat parking kereta yang banyak. Tak pening kepala kereta depan rumah dan sebagainya. So you can put the canopy ke kalau ada kenduri kendara. So you have a better value. Remember, kan? So ada juga yang some of sales representative dari klien akan cakap, dari developer akan cakap, rumah encik ni mahal sikit daripada rumah depan tu. Same size, some unit 20 kali by 20 times 70 feet. But bila buka matahari tu naik daripada pagi. Sunrise overlooking at your door side, your front door. Means what? Maksudnya subuh-subuh encik nampak matahari panas naik, tak panas. Bila petang baru panas. Maksudnya bila petang kalau panas maksudnya rumah belakang tu encik panas. Maksudnya apa? Bila you pergi kerja, matahari you dah tak nampak sebagainya. Bila balik kerja, matahari akan panas. Right? So means rumah you akan panas. So you kena encik pasang aircon dan sebagainya. So no need. Encik nak sedia kain pun susah apa semua. So this is how they play orang kata apa, some sort of to have a customer to incline on their advantages in terms of the value, to increase the value of the house dan sebagainya. But for me, if I'm a QS, I will ask the client, if you really want a revenue on that particular sales, okay, higher sales, so basically better you have orang kata apa, another option or type of houses. Instead of terrace house, you can build a semi-D, or you can build a apartment or bungalow or condo. So basically, I go for the condo or apartment, which is high-rise building, right? So in the same plot of land, instead of 50 units, in the same plot of land, if I build a condo or bungalow, I can have easily increase about 20 or 10 times of number of unit. So 500 unit plot, 500 unit of sebagainya. Just imagine, if you have a 6 unit per floor times 20, so you have 120 unit instead of 50 units. So the same size, 20 by 70, maybe you dapatkan kecil sikit the plot of land. So basically you akan dapat higher income revenue sale. So this is how you as a client can have give a better proposition ataupun alternative to your client. Okay. Alright, thank you guys. Alright, in terms of the project value, in 1991, that's why I said the American Airlines is one of the pioneer in adopting the OR. Okay, so they have a 1.4 billion estimated benefit over the previous 3 years in 1991 too. So, and then the result of this spread to hotel, car rental, cruise, and then have added profit into the billion of dollar. Okay, so OR basically is help management achieve its goal. Like I said, client have their business model, different business model. So how they go using the OR to optimize things to help to achieve their goals, right? In terms of tools ataupun how the operation research tool can help ataupun what model can help under the optimization. So we have two category here: deterministic model, stochastic model, right? So our courses ataupun our subject akan focus on this one, linear programming, right? The linear programming under deterministic model, and for stochastic model we go for decision analysis ataupun decision tree, right? Decision tree. So we have two types of model, deterministic and stochastic. What does it mean by these two? Deterministic versus stochastic. If deterministic means the data is certain. All the data known with certainty. Okay, certain lah. Maksudnya dah tahu dah data apa. Means come from the historical trend, historical data, apa dan sebagainya. But in terms of stochastic, the data tu in random pattern, in uncertain ways, we cannot have orang kata apa nama, the exact number dan sebagainya. But even that, the mathematician who come up with this particular model have orang kata can quantify all these two under these two model. For example, in this deterministic model involve optimization. For stochastic model, they characterize and estimate system performance. You can see the keyword there is characterize, estimate. Okay, so basically it's about the future, the future. So what does it mean by the future yang related with the QS? Remember, kalau you go for the introduction to QS dulu, what is the the QS punya job scope ataupun along their career tu, as a consultant ke contractor dan sebagainya. One of it is for feasibility study. Recall that, feasibility study. So bila buat feasibility study, macam saya kata tadi, one of the project ataupun one of the cases ataupun yang just share the background just now, the same client want to do terrace houses ataupun condo. So ask the QS to do a feasibility study in terms of revenue, return on investment and so on. So stochastic model can help the QS ataupun the project decision maker tu untuk come up with this particular model lah yang tengok revenue, investment dan sebagainya. Alright. Okay. Under deterministic model, like I said earlier, we will focus on linear programming. Okay. Linear programming is chosen under the deterministic model because of it's simple, easy to understand and robust enough. So what does it mean by all these three? When you are a decision maker, you do a linear programming, which is linear programming is about, like I said, it's a branch of mathematics yang gunakan some sort of equation and some sort of mathematical equation yang can be plot in the graph. Because why it put in the graph? Because it's linear. Linear ni garis lurus. So dalam garis lurus, you put in the graph, you can see 2 or 3 linear graph dalam satu tu, you can see easily. That's why I said easy to understand, simple, and then it's easy to explain, and then good enough. Good enough in terms of if you forecast in the near future, the same model tu you boleh gunakan untuk the next project dan sebagainya. Okay, let we see the next slide. So there are some sort of requirement in terms of when and how to use the linear programming model. Linear programming model, of course, the only applicable only if the factors involved in the problem tu it have a linear relationship. For example, if you purchase one unit of the car, one unit car, satu kereta, you bayar harga 80,000. If you purchase 2 car, become 160,000. 3 car, 240,000. So basically, this is how the relationship between that particular money and unit product yang you bayar tu sama ataupun is equal to 1:1, right? 1:1. So means kalau the another thing yang tak boleh ialah if you purchase a car 50,000 atau 80,000, you purchase 2 car, bagi discount lah 10,000 discount. So instead of 160, I give you discount 150,000. So and that particular things, the mathematician suggest to use non-linear programming. Okay, non-linear programming. So you can see from this one, non-linear programming. Okay, so in this case we use a linear programming because of this factor. Okay, simple, easy, and robust. Alright, real world problem. So I don't want to explain further, but just a gist on this in terms of the industry outside there. For the foam cutting manufacturer, they have a project ataupun they have contract to ataupun the business ialah untuk buat cut the foam tu untuk so many product, so many output. For example, untuk buat cushion, kereta, untuk buat katil, tilam dan sebagainya. So, but the foam material ataupun raw material for that particular foam is standard. 3.5, 1 meter thick. Okay, so they have to cut into different rectangular prism to cut into shape, to cut into order lah, right? From client to client, different. So how they want to cut without to increase the weightage punya percentage. Maksudnya kalau dia potong dalam bentuk bulat, the circle for example, the order for them to cut the foam into circle shape. So kalau you buat circle shape dalam satu 3.5 by 3.5 by 1 meter tu, so you akan nampak the wastage of the circle punya cost yang luar tepi tu. Okay, you got what I mean. Maksudnya kalau satu 3.5 is a rectangle, rectangle shape, and then you put the circle. Macam you buat kuih, you ambil tepung tu and then you ambil size of circle shape, and then you can see there's a lot of waste yang kat luar tu. Kalau you buat pizza tu macam tu lah. Yang roti-roti yang lebih-lebih tu dia akan buat cinnamon stick lah, cinnamon bread lah sebagainya, right? So but they can have a jual as a output. But for the foam, basically the wastage yang you buat tu tak boleh nak jual, tak boleh nak kita semula. Alright? So that's why they have to try to find ways on how to cut into the optimized thing into the shape tu. For example, kalau 3.5 by 1 meter, kalau conventional waste, they buat boleh dapat 20 circle, for example, 20 circle of cushion, right? But if they use they study about dia punya how to cut into the shape tu secara lebih dekat ataupun how to minimize the waste tu, so perhaps they can increase from 20 up until 28, 29 circle, okay? So consists of small circle, big circle, dan sebagainya, right? Okay, so this is how the industry out there to understand how to optimize things. Okay, right? Okay, this is one you can read. Okay, but now is this the cases related to related to construction industry or development project? Okay, let's see in this particular slide. PDC, small real estate developer. Okay, so they have a permanent employees. Ada gaji dia. For the next slide, you can see from here. So they have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see 10, 16, 24, 20,500, 25,000. So basically about 35 lebih kurang, 30,000 yang tu. So this is the gaji yang yang that particular company PDC have to commit dalam dia punya belanja every month. Okay, and then you can see PDC they have a business of real estate developer as a real estate developer, and then you can see PDC lease a building for 2,000 per month. So dia ada kena sewa bangunan dan juga they have to operate that particular building with the pay, the utilities fees, equipment for 3,000 per month. So 3 plus 2, 5,000 as an overhead. And then another overhead is to employ ataupun to pay the salary of 7 employees. Okay. And then this is the punya resources ataupun overhead fixed cost. Okay. And then as we know, the PDC is a small real estate. Okay, so PDC ni buat satu jenis rumah, the cost of the land, plot of land 55,000. And then to build the house, the material, everything, cost about 28,000 plus another total cost of 20,000, which is the labor. Okay, and then kalau kita tahu, then here is a developer. So once the developer, they have to sell. When they have to sell, means they have to pay the commission to the sales representative. Okay, so you can see all the figure put in the red color. You can see this is how the cost ataupun the cost yang have to incurred by ataupun absorbed by the PDC. And then the selling price, rumah yang nak jual ni 115,000. So can you help this PDC company to advise on how many numbers of house for them to make a break even? Break even maksudnya apa? Berapa biji rumah yang dia boleh buat untuk cover dia punya fixed cost. Okay, and how many numbers of houses they can make a profit up until berapa. So this is where linear programming can use in this particular project. Okay, let me see this. Okay, so number 1 and number 2 is identical lah. All repeated. Identify all costs, marginal revenue. What is a break-even point? Okay, what is the monthly profit? Kalau you ada 12 biji rumah untuk bina dan jual. So identify all costs. You can see kalau monthly salary tu 35,000 plus 5,000 yang sewa, supply cost dan juga sewa dan juga utilities, about 5,000. So 40,000 is monthly fixed cost. Okay, and then untuk build the house, sell the house is 105,000 cost. Okay, jual rumah 115,000. So you can see the selling price dengan cost dia beza only 10,000. So to cover 10,000, basically you have to untuk cukupkan 40,000, so you have to sell 4 houses a month. Baru you dapat cover break even untuk buat rumah. Untuk apa? Untuk cover all the fixed cost and sales, baru even sama. Okay, so you have to sell about 4 unit. But what if kalau you nak jual sebanyak 12 biji rumah? Alright. So this is how the equation, like I said earlier, the OR is a branch from mathematics. Jangan takut, because this is how the interesting part come in. Okay, where from this equation, you can solve lots of problem related for this particular situation. For example, you can see from all this information, C stand for cost function, variable cost, fixed cost. So cost untuk ditanggung oleh PDC basically is related with the variable cost yang harga rumah, labor cost dan sebagainya, jual, termasuk fixed cost. Alright. So cost basically is about 105,000 yang ditambah tu. 105,000 come from where? 105,000 is about 105,000 cost of land, material, labor and sales, okay, which is marginal cost, plus 40,000 of fixed cost. Okay, 40,000. So the revenue maksudnya harga jual rumah, which is 115,000. 150,000 which is the revenue, RX 115,000. Okay. So when you got this, one equation and another one is equation. Okay, so how about the profit? Because we want to know, as the PDC, they more eager to know about the profit. Okay, so the profit, how to the equation of the profit basically is a revenue minus cost. Revenue minus cost, harga jual tolak harga cost buat. Okay, so 150,000. So RX basically this is 150X. Just write it down. Minus, maintain here, minus. And then CX, you can see the CX over here. This is the full equation. Just replace the CX inside here. Okay. And then solve this particular the formula over here ataupun the equation here. So 115,000 minus 105,000 X. So X and X, so you have a 10,000 X minus 40,000. So this is how the equation of to calculate the profit. So means X really stand for the numbers of unit untuk dijual atau dibina dan sebagainya. So basically if you have orang kata apa 4 unit, 10,000 kali 4 yang saya kata break even point, right? 10,000 kali 10,000, 10,000 kali 4, 40,000, 40,000 tolak 40,000 basically is 0. So now become profit is 0, which is we call it as a break even, right? Break even point. So this is the break even point macam I replace tadi. This is for unit. Okay. Okay. Now what if kalau monthly profit? What is the monthly profit if 12 unit rumah untuk dijual, bina dan jual? Bina saja tak jual tak dapat duit juga. So just replace the X with 12. So you can see if you put the P12 ataupun the profit for 12 unit, basically you dapat 10,000, 12 tolak 40,000. So basically you have what? 80,000 monthly. Okay, betul kan? 120,000 minus 40,000. So you have about 80,000 monthly profit. So Now from this calculation, you can plot in the graph. So that's why I kata, since this about linear programming, if you jual 4, you akan dapat harga kosong, profit. If you jual 8, you akan dapat harga less than 180,000 profit. So if you jual 12, you akan dapat 80,000. So this is how the graph of break-even analysis, and then from the $1,000 and then number of house sold. Okay. Can you understand on this part? Ada soalan? Okay, good. Okay. Alright, so now just to conclude in terms of the process, okay, the process on how PDC ataupun how the linear programming works ataupun how to characterize the process dalam understand the issue ataupun the process dalam dalam scenario PDC tadi, right? So they have a steps to do a decision making. Okay, the first 5 steps ni is the process decision making. So they understand, define the problem. What is their problem? Problem dia ialah they want to know about the margin, the return of profit ataupun revenue. Okay, so and then number 2, determine the set of alternative solution. Solutionnya ialah sama ada bina rumah banyak atau sikit, right? So in term of to cater to solve the problem. For example, if you build and sold the unit below the break-even point, so that's why they akan rugi, okay, for that particular month. So that's why their problem is to understand what is the break-even point and how much the revenue they can make if the project can be the number of units and built and sold to increase from time to time. Okay. So determine the criteria for evaluating the alternative. So the criteria ni basically based on the equation that I give you, yang we share just now. So for example, the revenue is equal to cost tolak fixed ataupun tolak fixed cost. Maksudnya variable cost tolak fixed cost. Variable tu basically is about the cost tanah dia, cost labor, machinery, material dan sebagainya, tolak fixed cost. So and then evaluate the alternative basically based on how many numbers yang ada. And then choose the alternative, implement the chosen alternative, and then you evaluate the result based from the graph yang show here. So basically you can see if they want to build 10,000 houses, so basically they can know how much the revenue they can get. Okay. Okay. To summarize in terms of optimization in the simple ways. Okay. So you maybe heard about this mantra ataupun the term that coined by so many businessmen dan sebagainya. We have a good, fast and cheap. Okay, we have a good, fast and cheap option over here. But you as a customer, you can only pick 2. So basically, for example, good, fast and cheap. If it's good and cheap, not be fast, right? Good and fast, not be cheap. Fast and cheap, not be good. So basically, it can be related to so many things in our daily life. Okay, for example, kalau you jumpa KFC, for example, nak makan tengah hari, so kalau you nampak cepat, sedap, tapi mahal, bukan because it's sometimes kalau you beli ayam yang sama dekat pasar malam ke whatever atau you masak sendiri, rasanya mungkin lain, tapi it's better cheap. Fast because it's a fast food. Good because it's a good taste, but in terms of the good nutrition, we cannot comment on it because sometimes some nutrition kata fast food is not good, kan? Alright, so this is how to optimize things. So now hopefully you understand in terms of the optimization. That optimization basically is about a lot of option available. How to pick up the best option yang to choose as a to solve that particular situation ataupun solve the problem yang you face. Okay. Alright. So in terms of optimization problem, so the next slide nanti this one. So we will focus on the tutorial after this. And then, but now think on how you characterize the optimization problem. The PDC ataupun the what we call it, the scenario that give you on the PDC is a simple lah in dalam related with the construction industry. But in term of how to characterize, we use a 7-step tadi tu, 7-step of tu untuk dalam this particular next tutorial. Okay, number 1, find the objective, identify what are the problem ataupun the objective of this particular situation or scenario. Is it to maximize profit, minimize the risk, to have kata apa, for example to know the numbers of resources available and so on. So find the objective, and then what is you have control over? What is that you have control over? Means this is related with the variable. Variables mean related is 4W1H question lah. Who, how, where, when, what. So basically it's about the variables that you have in your possession. For example, if you can say bila order unit sampai. So order sampai bila unit have to deliver that particular project. So in 1 year time ataupun 365 days from now from set possession. So you have a control of time duration. So how to make it possible? So this is how you plan. So how many numbers of your workers? Only 2. So is it manually ataupun you want to go for automation, for example? So for example, automation of prefabrication ataupun on-site installation ataupun on-site fabrication. If you have only 2 workers untuk buat kerja yang banyak, so basically better you order from outside, which is we call it as a prefab. Now is better. So how many, where, kat mana pula I nak tu. So basically this is about the variable that you have a control with. Okay. So start with the lots of question in terms of to get the optimization problem, to characterize the optimization problems. And then if you have any restriction, so the restriction can be in terms of the numbers, in terms of time, in terms of resources you have. Sometimes the variables too can be related with the constraint. For example, tadi saya kata how many numbers, what is the duration of the particular project? 1 year, 365. So the next question is what are the effective time, working time? So only 8 hours a day. So basically, instead of we have a 24 hours a day, we only 1/3 of effective time untuk buat kerja. Only 8 hours a day. More than that, I have to pay more to my workers, to my co-workers dan sebagainya. So that's what we call it as a constraint. So why not we go exceed about 10 hours or 12 hours if you don't mind to pay more. But you have to say, check with the local authority, for example, check with the client, check with the surrounding, permitted, permit and so on. For example, kalau you buat kerja extra hours, you have to go up until luar office hour, ataupun akan menyebabkan jalan tu congested because of the traffic, movement slow, mau balik kerja. And then, for example, kalau buat kerja waktu malam, you have the more safety precaution measures. Alright, so for example, kalau you go work waktu malam, you have to put extra lighting. That will incur extra cost. So this is what we call it as a constraint. It's constraint in terms of resources, in terms of time, in terms of the permitted regulation and so on. Okay, now this is another example. I call it as a in class ataupun during class punya tutorial. So let's see in this particular problem. Okay, a manufacturing company, kedai perabot, have 3 types of item ataupun furniture yang dia dapat contract. Desk, chairs, bed frame. Okay, desk, chair and bed frame. And then to use to build a desk, chair and bed frame, they have to use a raw material. Okay, the raw material is metal, wood, and juga of course labor. Right, so you can see the 3 of the color box tu. Every single ataupun furniture tu, a single desk require 2 hours of labor. 1 chair require 1 hour of labor. 1 bed frame, 2 hours of labor. So that's a labor. And then for the metal, ada satu untuk desk, ada satu untuk chair, ada satu untuk bed frame. So all in all, 3 of it is share the similar 1 unit of metal to build. Okay. And then for the wood, desk 3, chair 3, bed frame 4. Okay. So what's next? So you can see this is dia punya the next example basically is about constraint or resources they have. The raw material, even they want to know to build that particular furniture, they have only limited ataupun constraint in terms of the numbers of labor hours of available, metal and wood. You nampak 225 jam bekerja yang ada. Ada 117 unit of metal, 420 units of wood. Okay. So and then you can see the profit yang dia boleh tulis kat sini ialah each furniture when they build basically they can sell lah, they can have money from there. So they state the profit for the desk RM13, chair RM12, bed frame RM17. Okay, so and then how they want to use it. So basically the question here is want you to have reschedule ataupun manufacturing schedule design, maximize the profit. They ask you specifically, please maximize the profit of this particular furniture yang ada 3 furniture tu. Profit dia nak jual supaya lebih untung, but at the same time resource availability itu tak violate. So tak violate maksudnya apa? They have limited resources over here, 225 hours, unit metal, 420 units. But they have to increase the profit. Ini dah tetap. This is the fix, but they build the furniture, but they want a lot of the profit yang maximize the profit from this particular sale. But at the same time, dia punya constraint in term of raw material is not violate. Okay, so this is the real life situation ataupun scenario. Okay, so in this particular online ataupun this hands-on tutorial, you can see I put in the tablet. I put all the data here in the tabulation lah. Tabulate the data. So we put every single furniture here, desk, chair, and bed frame, and then we have raw material over here, labor, metal, wood. Labor pun masuk material, manpower kan. So metal and wood. And then we have a profit here for you to easy to see. Desk was RM13, sales of chair RM12, sales of bed frame cost you atau give you a profit about RM17. And then for the total here is related with the labor ataupun the labor and manpower constraint. So you can build a desk for 2 labor, 1 chair, 1 hour labor for chair, 2 hours labor for bed frame, but you cannot violate 225. So when you have this particular table, so it's easier for you to do an equation, mathematical equation. So just determine the chair, desk, chair, and bed frame as any numbers, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, X1, X2, X3, right? So when you have the next equation, remember 13 X1 basically is for desk, chair, and bed frame. So 13 for desk, chair, RM12, and bed frame 13, 12, 17. X determined by state for different furniture, and then you can maximize this particular Z, which is profit. So how we can get 13, 12, and 17 from here? 13, 12, and 17, right? So you can maximize the profit. How to maximize? You add up all these 13, 12, and 17, but at the same time, you doesn't know what is the number for unit to sell on this particular. So this is the first equation. Okay. The second equation, third and fourth, basically is about when you understand from the table tadi tu, you formulate in terms of mathematical equation. Number one, X1, desk, chair, and bed frame. You can see X1, X2, and X3 similar pattern. Okay, but this is differentiate between labor, metal, and wood because this is the raw material, and then this is the constraint, and this is the variable. Okay, remember tadi you have to understand the objective. What is the objective? To maximize the profit, which is this one, maximize the profit, objective function. Understand the constraint, which is this is the constraint, okay, and then the variable, this is the variable x1, x2, x3, and two numbers. So variable and constraint put together as a one equation. So means, what does it mean by this? For example, if you want to build a desk, you need a 2 hours of labor. If you not 2 hour labor, this is 2 hours of labor because this is labor. If you need to build to sell this particular chair, so you need to build use 1 hour of labor, and then this is 2 hour of labor to build a desk, bed frame. So but this is not violate ataupun lesser or equal to 225 of labor's hour, labor hours. So it's similar process for metal and wood. Okay, and then for X1, X2, and 0, what does it mean by non-negativity? Non-negativity basically is related with X1 basically is refer to different unit of furniture, refer to type of furniture. X1 not more ataupun more than and equal to 0 means what? The company need to build this. Maksudnya dia tak boleh negatif. Negatif maksudnya dia tak boleh lesser than 0. If lesser than 0 maksudnya dia tak mengguna optimize the facilities they have, the labor yang ada dan sebagainya. So that's why non-negativity means they have to optimize things. So means in order to optimize things, so non-negativity reflect to you kena buat apa yang ada. Maksudnya not lesser than that, must be more. Okay, so this is what we call it ataupun related with the non-negativity constraint. Okay, now when we have this 13 maximize all the objective function, non-negativity, variable, and constraint. So we have all this equation linear programming. Okay, all right. So and then you can see from this non-linear programming, we can use simplex equation lah, ataupun simplex model. Why we don't use a linear programming yang guna graph bar chart ataupun graph? Because this is involve more than 2 variables. Because more than 2, 1 variable, 2 variable, 3 variables. If we involve 2 variables, so basically it's easier to have linear programming. Okay. Okay, this is example from the manufacturing punya. And then for linear programming question and solution example, like I said earlier, SBQ 3833 is similar to SBQ 3732. Just log into your learning e-learning, and then open up the question from e-learning tu yang I upload question tutorial for SBQ linear programming. Okay, let me unshare this. Tak buka belum? Okay, dah buka Alright. So we have 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes lah because should be start at 10:50. Let me that's your your punya homework lah, you punya homework untuk siapkan benda tu. Alright, let's to recap this one because I have enough time to cover on story with you, but try to solve that 3 question dalam e-learning tadi, okay, and then in 1 week's time, so basically I will put up the solution dekat dalam e-learning. So you can compare your answer with your attempt. So kalau you can see the attempt tu sama tak dengan you tu, dengan you punya answer or your punya attempt with the solution that I give. So basically that's shown that you have the better understanding on that. Okay, so try to do that as your homework. Okay, to recap, to summarize, because I see this is another 10 minutes or 15 minutes less. So as summarized, optimization is a task all human beings, indeed all living things. So basically it's a real life scenario, real life impact on all of us lah, as any daily life punya problem untuk solve the scenario in terms of to make a decision, right? So optimization is is part of our process to solve the decision making. So that's involve choosing between alternative. So the choice is governed by wanting to make the best decision. Okay, so you have to make the best decision to get a cost of producing best furniture, meeting greatest exam mark, and given limited amount of study and time. Okay. Alright. Let me share another real case. Okay, stop sharing on this. Any question boleh tanya saya
Ya.
Ada question?
Sorry doktor, saya nak tanya berkenaan dengan tutorial tadi.
Alright.
Maksudnya doktor bagi seminggu masa?
Seminggu untuk buat latihan, tapi kalau you nak jawapan tu, saya basically macam jawapan tu dah ada. Cuma saya tak nak letak dekat situ dulu, because I want you to attempt. Once you dapat jawapan tu, buat all the 3 attempts, you want to compare your answer, your result, just let me know. So tak payah tunggu 1 week lah. Okay? Alright.
Tapi kalau untuk jawapan yang doktor share dekat e-learning tu maksudnya a week after lah kan?
A week after, or if all of you attempt awal lagi, so I can give the answer awal lagi lah.
Lepas tu submit, nanti doktor akan buka jugalah tempat untuk submit ke tak perlu submit?
Tak perlu submit, tak perlu submit. This is your own understanding.
Oh, okay, terima kasih.
Alright, sama. Yeah, let me share the project that I involved recently basically, dengan grant industry. Let me share how we cope with this thing. Okay. Alright, nampak tak ni? Just need a couple of minutes lah. Okay. Nampak Nampak, okay, good. So you can see, kalau you nampak kat sini, apa gambar tu? Gambar apa tu? Substation kan? Substation of TMB, right? So you can see in this particular project report ni, this is the existing TMB substation. Okay, so we have we form a consortium, me, Dr. Farah, and then the Kalam dekat Fabu, under Fabu, and then the QS team up with the architect, engineer from engineering faculty, okay, electrical faculty, mechanical school dan sebagainya. So we team up as a consortium to bid to get the industrial grant. So industrial grant ni basically the tenaga nasional lah, at the first place wanted to have the study on how to improve their station main SSU kalau itu station switch utama, okay, ataupun TMB substation, because you can see substation they face the problem where kalau you nampak gambar-gambar kat sini, the flat roof, ada maintenance because of leaking, ada basically ada brick wall tu peeling, cat tu peeling, ada masuk binatang tikus ke rotten dan sebagainya masuk dalam subswitch, gigit wire, so meletup dekat dalam tu, so blackout, so they have to come in and then to repair, so basically so many breakdown lah dekat situ. So what they want as a client, they want a minimal or low cost maintenance for TMB, TMB. Okay, So this is another TMB yang kalau kita nampak sekarang ni, this is the PPU. So tadi SSU, this is PPU. So this is related the different size of building ni because related with the amount of kV lah, kilowatt yang ada. Okay. So another one is nak tunjukkan kat sini ialah they have a problem in terms of roof, fence, wall yang saya kata tadi kan. Okay. So this is the architect yang design over here. So and then they come up with their plan. So when they plan benda tu, they have to follow the requirement by TMB lah ataupun by local authority yang berkaitan lah. Sebab tak boleh size tu tak boleh besar sangat, tak boleh kurang sangat ataupun tak boleh kecil sangat. So and then what we have as a consortium, we have to understand their problem because they want to minimize the maintenance cost. So what the architect did basically is to refine and then to find suitable material. And suitable material for the long lasting punya lah yang tak ada less maintenance. So bila dia buat macam tu, we as a QS have to impart our knowledge ataupun have to involve with the design cost. Maksudnya cost yang dibuat tu, basically we have to come up with a different solution, different price material. Okay. So and then this is how the sketches of the rule wall operated ataupun yang kat situ lah. Kalau you nampak kat sini dia ada some different gambar cool metal deck, so rainwater downpipe yang maybe before this tak ada ataupun ada one side, but now you can see they have a cool metal decking and then they have a what we call it dua lapis. Satu flat roof structure and then another one is metal decking tapi single pitch. Okay, single pitch. Before this they have metal TMB substation macam songkok kepala tu kan, but they have a sort issue of leaking sebab dalam tu air tu bertakung kat sini tersumbat dia punya rainwater downpipe. So that's why we provide ataupun we suggest with the cool metal decking untuk air tu flow only one side over here. So as a QS we calculate that this is can have better value. Remember value is different between one person to another person, but the value should be diberikan lah supaya cost untuk untuk cover the objective function of the lowering the cost maintenance pada masa akan datang tu lagi banyak. So walaupun the cost untuk initial quite high compared because of the different redesign of the existing, but throughout the long term the TMB can save lots of money. Okay, and then even you can see this is we have a pavement the different interlocking block. Okay, and then the steel plate to cover to have aesthetic look. Okay, because in this particular project we undertake the survey from participant atau from survey from general audit public to see how the TMB substation ni yang duduk dekat rumah taman-taman dan sebagainya can blend together with their surrounding. So that's why they want to know, don't want to become a boxy tapi nak letak landscape asalnya, nak tanam pokok landscape sebagainya, but TMB said, our client said cannot because the landscape tu akan attract so many binatang-binatang yang tak perlu ada kat situ. So they have to concern about the maintenance, what they want to bear minimum dia punya minimum punya material yang boleh dibuat for the long time lah, 5 to 10 years. So this is the new design. Kalau you can see the new design, so compare than the previous one yang ada kotak macam tu kan. So this is the one. So you can see from this, just to stop sharing on this, I want to share dia punya what out my work as a QS did on this particular option ataupun design. Okay, let me share. Okay, nampak Okay, so for this particular PE, pencawang elektrik SSU tadi. So basically we come up with the solution in terms of cost, maintenance. So apart from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the element that have an issue with the current condition yang TNB current practice. So we studied in terms of how to save the money cost. So this is how the optimization can be applied. Okay, in terms of cost benefit analysis, in terms of the value for the NPV, net present value, and so on. So even you can see the recommended option for the new design yang you nampak design tadi tu is save about 25,000. Okay, how the 25,000 come from? So you can see the 25,000 come from each element. So for example, we calculate for this particular useful life about 30 years, we take 7.5% the inflation atau the rate throughout the up to 30 years as average. And then you can see the activity yang ada cost estimation, operation maintenance. So and then you can see red color means rugi lah, because you can see new design involve mono pitch roof plus flat roof. The existing design only involve of flat roof kan. So ada external ataupun additional cost over here. So which is a minus. Which is kalau tu rugi lah, klien tak nak. But when we present on how the operation and maintenance looks like, so basically you can see in terms of 5,900 over 3,500, we save about 2,300 for that particular period. And then for the replace upgrading cost, for the current one, we have 3,500 for every 5 years interval. And then for this particular remove and repair the gutter is on every 15 years, compare then for the new design, compare that one. So then we save a lot in terms of 6,775. So at the moment we can have a net present value of 1,000 from the new design punya initial cost and maintenance cost. So and then we come up with all the roof covering. So this is what I said is about to study the option. To study the option available, and then to calculate the life cycle costing in terms of how they can give a better value to the client, right? So this is how the next process in terms of external wall and so on. Okay, so this is how, like I said, as a project manager or even a QS, so basically you can have the better understanding on how to understand the client problem, to understand the problem by any the scenario they given to you, and then try to identify the objective function, variable that you have, the constraint that you have, and then from there you can quantify to be a mathematical equation, and then after that to sort of ataupun solve it into graph paper ataupun you boleh buat graph paper dan sebagainya. Okay, so 3 of this particular tutorial question tu that's involve benda-benda yang saya cakap tadi. Okay, so look back, download, look, and then try to, you can discuss among your team member dan sebagainya, and then to understand further. So if you dah selesai, just let me know that your attempt dah buat. Saya akan release ataupun give you the answer script ataupun the tutorial answer. Okay. Alright, any question? Tak ada. Okay, Intan, good. Alright. Alright, so it's about 1 o'clock at the moment. Dah hampir pukul 1. So thank you very much. So kalau tak ada apa-apa, so I will leave the session and then you can back. Okay? Okay, good. Yes, I have. Dev.
I have a question not about our subject.
Alright,
It's
good. Okay, apa dia?
about insert delete punya tu.
Okay, kenapa?
Bila benda tu akan settle? I mean like, kan saya insert subjek ni, so tapi dia tak fall lagi kat e-learning.
If not mistaken, insert delete similar to postgraduate punya. Sekejap saya tengok, baru dapat semalam. Bukan nama Fizam, apa nama dia punya officer tu share kat saya. Insert delete will end 5th October. Registration hari ni. Insert delete hari Khamis. Kalau tak silap lah.
This week. Oh, so by that time e-learning updated lah.
Updated lah. So you tak dapat access to e-learning at the moment?
For
Pada time ni?
project management je lah. Tak dapat.
Okay. Alright.
But any notes I will ask for my friend.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Right, thank
Alright.
you, Dr.
Welcome. Okay, thank you very much. So, stay safe. Okay. So, banyak lagi masa kita nak jumpa lagi nanti. InsyaAllah. Okay, Assalamualaikum.